This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, medical, or mental health advice. The views and opinions expressed by the host of My Brain is a Wonderland are exactly that, views and opinions. This is Emily Ruth Henderson, and I'm the host of My Brain is a Wonderland, the podcast for neurodivergent women and the people who love them. In 2020, after a hellish pandemic, I was diagnosed with ADHD and autism. Surprise! Now, I am passionate about reaching other women just like me who've been pushed aside, ignored, and misdiagnosed for far too long. Each week, I discuss my experience navigating my 30s with these two life-changing diagnoses. There'll be highs, there'll be lows, and everything in between when you join me for Season 3 of My Brain is a Wonderland. Hello everyone, and welcome back to this Friends Fixation series, and we are getting started on Season 1, Episode 2 of Friends. And I'm so happy that you're here with me and enjoying this. I did get a message on Reddit where someone said, and I super appreciate you for that you're loving these episodes, and it's like, do we need to just be talking about how our brains... I forget what the word was, but like how crazy our brains are all the time. And that is why I'm doing these episodes. To take a load off, to connect with you in a way that is not always emotional or like super digging deep psychologically. And as I think a lot of you here are millennials, and if you're not, a lot of you probably listen to Friends anyway. And so I just wanted to connect with you about this, about something that I love, that I hyperfixate on, and could watch till the end of time. So let's do it. Season 1, Episode 2. So the episode opens on Central Perk, the coffee shop, of course. It's like the main place they try to focus on, especially in the first season. It's the hub. Monica is telling the guys, so all 6 friends are there, and Monica is telling the 3 men that she thinks that kissing is just as important as any part of sex. They're kind of alluding to things, but we know the innuendo, they're talking about sex. And this scene might seem a little left field compared to nowadays, but honestly, this is from an era where there was a guy who wrote a book called Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. It's very, there's that, I want to say dichotomy, and now I don't know if I used the right word. That separation, that kind of men are men, and this is how men act, and women are women, and this is how women act, and women and men don't understand each other. And I think to a certain degree, when gender is constructed, that can be said to be true. That women don't understand men generally because their construction of their social life is one way and different for women. These things were not talked about so much. It seems now, maybe looking back, like, duh, but the way you get to duh is that we actually talk about it. So I hate to sound like, oh, well, back in the day, but really, back in the day, this stuff wasn't discussed, especially wasn't discussed on TV, that people actually watched. Joey isn't convinced about the kissing thing, and Ross looks concerned and confused. Phoebe and Rachel back Monica up, saying that everything you need to know is in that first kiss, which I'm not sure I agree with completely, but chemistry is definitely an important part of a relationship. Like, you could kiss a guy and be like, chemistry's great, and then he hates his mom or something. I mean, you can't tell everything from that first kiss, but I think a kiss and chemistry is very important. Chandler and Ross chime in, saying that really, the kiss is an opening act that you don't care to see. When you go to a concert or a comedy show and you have to spend the first 90 minutes seeing, they're like, come at 7:30. and actually 9 p.m. is when the real person goes on. To them, that's kissing, right? It's the opener that no one is there for. And the men are mostly trying to get to, the sex. That's the main act, the main attraction, as they were saying. So it's basically a discussion between these men and women, generalizing desires and needs by gender. You can take it how it is, but based on the time, this was actually quite relevant and part of the discussion. And this was, 94, 95? We cut to the infamous intro with the theme song, and then we see Ross at his job at the Museum of Prehistoric History. I actually didn't Google this. I don't know if this is a real museum in New York, because, I just know, the Met, the Met, I don't know. But this could be a real museum. We saw a sign that they posted on they put up during the episode. Maybe it's real, maybe it isn't. But this is basically where he works as a paleontologist, which is, the dinosaur guy. You've seen Jurassic Park? They're paleontologists. That's what they do. Ross is with a female co-worker in an exhibit with cave people. There's a caveman, cavewoman sculpture or whatever. And Ross says, the female cavewoman looks a little angry. His female co-worker responds that the female cavewoman, has issues with her caveman husband. Clearly, this is personal, and we can kind of see that the episode and the show in general, this episode particularly, is trying to set up this kind of the role of men and women. The relationship roles, the unspoken things that we all have to do, that we take in, that all of the invisible work that mostly women do, but some men do also. All the things that we don't discuss, that's clearly bubbling over for this female coworker. And in that moment, the coworker says, "Isn't that your ex-wife?" So that would be Carol, the lesbian. Ross turns around and we see that his, in fact, lesbian ex-wife Carol is on the other side of the glass of the exhibit. He does not expect to see her there. The coworker leaves and Carol walks into the exhibit. Carol and Ross try to make small talk. It's really awkward. It's and he's just like, "What are you doing here?" all of a sudden. And then Carol goes, "I'm pregnant." We cut to Monica's apartment where Chandler, Phoebe, and Joey are watching Three's a Company. Which, okay, there's probably some people listening who are like, "Please don't explain Three's a Company." And there's probably some people listening who go, "What? What's Three's a Company?" We had it in the UK as well. Actually, it was redone. Maybe it was a British show first and came to America, or vice versa, but we had our own version. And it was basically a man in the 70s living in an apartment with two women. Yes, there were lots of alluding to threesomes, all the things. And a man living with two women in an apartment in the 70s was wild. Which we look back now and we're like, okay, dude. But that's how it was, just like we look back at Friends. And the Friends are watching Three's a Company in the 70s, in the 90s. So that's 20 years ago. So that's just like us now watching Friends 25 years ago. So very similar reference there, which I like. Monica is frantically cleaning, which is actually the first time we get a glimpse into her kind of cleaning panic. Sometimes people suggest that she might have OCD, but it's never discussed in the show, and I don't like to armchair, diagnose anything, of course. I mean, even a psychologist wouldn't be like, "Monica definitely has ADHD." You could look at some of her behavior and kind of project what you think. I think maybe nowadays it would be really interesting to see her as a character in a show like this, because maybe they would say, she'd be like, "Sorry, it's my OCD." Maybe she doesn't know she has it. Maybe she doesn't have it. She has anxiety. Who knows? We find out that her parents, which is her and Ross's parents, are coming over for dinner, which we know it's always a big deal in your 20s. You're trying to be an adult and then your parents are like, "Hey, we're coming for dinner. It's so cool and kosher. Don't clean too much." And you're freaking out. The friends try to relax her. I think Ross or Joey says to calm down, which don't ever tell anyone not calm to calm down. They will punch you in the face. That's not helpful at all. Joey mentions that Ross doesn't act this way when their parents visit, and Monica says it's because Ross is their favorite child who can do no wrong. At that moment, Rachel comes out of her bedroom, and apparently she's missing her engagement ring from Barry. That's the fiancé she left at the altar this last episode, the pilot. The thing is that she's supposed to see him tomorrow, to meet him for the first time since she dumped him at the altar, and to return her engagement ring. And this is actually a funny quirk here, because this is a personality trait that they keep going for Rachel in the whole series. She loses jewelry all the time, and Monica actually does not lend her jewelry because of this. So that's funny that they put it in episode 2 and then continued it. Maybe she has ADHD. I don't know. Rachel then realizes that she probably lost her engagement ring in the lasagna that she was helping Monica to make earlier for for Monica's parents to eat later. Monica's devastated, and Phoebe, Chandler, and Joey volunteer to stick their hands in the lasagna to retrieve the ring, but ultimately ruining the lasagna. Bummer. We hear a knock on the door. It's Ross, and he's super sad. Phoebe finds the engagement ring just as Ross tells everyone that Carol is pregnant. Apparently, Carol and Susan want Ross to be involved, and I just want to say what a radical storyline this is for the time. Like, this is the 90s, and the 90s were new and accepting and exciting, and you can be gay, and you can be poly, and you can do what you want to do. But to put it out there in a mainstream show that became the biggest sitcom globally on the planet, the most syndicated show ever, I mean, that just speaks to what people were ready for, and they were ready for this, and I love that. I think I've spoken about this before. The first time a gay couple kissed, like two lesbians in the UK, I think it was 1997 it wasn't a sitcom, it was a soap opera, kind of like Days of Our Lives or something. And I think we'll get to it, but I think this season we see Carol and Susan, like, just kiss on the lips. There's, not tongue crazy, but they kiss on the lips. This was radical. This was radical back then. Don't ask, don't tell. I mean, the fact that they put it in their first and second episode, I think they were pushing something. They were saying it's 1994. We need to be better. We accept this, and everyone did accept it. So maybe it wasn't that radical. I don't know. I mean, they probably couldn't have done it in 1990, the same show, and had it be this big, or even have a network greenlight it. So Ross isn't sure what he wants to do, but he acknowledges either way he will be a father. He acknowledges, even if I'm not there, like, technically I have a son or a child, and I'm a father. Cut to later that evening in Monica's apartment, and we see Ross, Monica, and who we assume are their parents, their mom and dad, in her apartment. Their mother is immediately critical. I mean, absolutely everything is critical. Monica serves hors d'oeuvres that are curry flavored. Her mom says, "Is that curry?" Ugh. Which is funny because it's 94. And now if you served an hors d'oeuvre with curry, even with like middle upper class white people, I think that's way more acceptable, that you'd kind of be like, oh, curry, that's not an unexpected flavor. I think it's just speaking to the times that, curry, oh, that's weird. And Monica's like, well, that's normal because we live in New York City and we're in our 20s. Like, get with it, dude. And don't criticize me. Like, shut up. Ross is being a good brother and tries to bring the atmosphere around, but his father is clueless and doesn't even realize the mom is being critical. He's just being critical peripherally by being honestly neglectful of Monica. Being like, oh, I'm the bumbly dad. I don't know. It's like, okay, dude. The mom continues to criticize Monica, and Monica calls Ross into the kitchen, asking him in a whisper when he's going to tell their parents about the pregnancy, of lesbian Carol. She really wants Ross to take the heat off of her. We cut to them. Time is going forward. We can see from what food is on their plates. They're eating dinner, and now the parents are criticizing Rachel because we realize that her parents are family friends of Monica's because Monica and Rachel went to school together in upstate New York or just outside New York or something. The mom and dad continue to criticize Monica, and she can't take it anymore, and she leans her elbow hard on Ross's hand on the dinner table. Right then, Ross pops up and tells their parents that the reason Carol left him, which is crazy, they didn't know why Carol left him, is that she is a lesbian. She's pregnant, and and Carol and Susan, her lesbian life partner, are going to raise his child together. And anyone with narcissistic, demanding parents, mom, whatever, will relate to this part. Monica and Ross's mom, after Ross said, "My lesbian wife left me after she cheated on me, shacked up with her lesbian lover, is pregnant with my baby, and they're going to raise it together." Monica and Ross's mom turns to Monica and says, "And you knew about this?" Like, geez Louise, it's awful. Like, I do love how this show just has all the types of families in it. Maybe not if you're a minority, but it has all of you're a single, you're an only child. You have oppressive parents. You have a gay father. You have, you're homeless. Like, it just has all the things. You're working class, Joey. It has a lot of different aspects that you can relate to. So after their mom says, "And you knew about this," Monica tries not to jump out of her skin, and we cut to Central Perk after closing. Rachel is cleaning up because she works there now, right? While the rest of the friends are just reclining on the couches. Joey empathizes with Monica and Ross says that his parents are pros at knowing what they're doing and getting that job done, as in being critical and demanding. Which, again, I just think there's so many people who can relate to this. If you're a minority, sure, there's loads of aspects of this you can't relate to, but I think in general, you can relate to having narcissistic parents, being an only child, having parents who get divorced, who cheat, being working class, being homeless, having a parent who kills themselves. Like, there are so many people on this planet who can relate to all those different things, which is why they are our friends. Because we can all relate to them. They feel like our friends. Phoebe then mentions that she's a twin, and her twin is a waitress that she's actually estranged from. And I just love that, because you don't actually hear about that often. Like, twins are supposed to be buddy-buddy, but, we'll find out later. Her twin is awful, so that's why. We also find out that Chandler was an only child, just like me, but I didn't have divorced parents. They weren't middle class either, but you can relate to different people in different ways. Everyone leaves Central Perk while Ross is in the bathroom, and he's left alone with Rachel. Ross asks if she needs help cleaning up. She hands him the broom, and he starts sweeping, and she goes to lay on the couch. I mean, classic upper middle class vibes. She's like, "I'm so tired, dude." He asks her about meeting with Barry tomorrow, and they both commiserate over their experience breaking up with their respective partners. Ross says that Barry will probably be a broken shell of a man, so don't try to look too terrific, and that'll be hard for you, Rachel. That's him flirting. That's him saying you're so freaking hot, but don't try to hurt his feelings too much. And Rachel says, "Do you remember when we were in high school together? You thought you'd just meet someone and fall in love," and you can see Ross behind her clearly thinking, "Yes, I thought it would be you." They're bonding emotionally and, setting up the rest of the season just amazingly. We cut to Ross, Carol, and Susan at the OBGYN. So we're assuming this is like the first doctor's appointment about the baby. It's very awkward between Ross and Susan, which is expected. Ross is so awkward that he picks up a speculum and starts pumping it like a duck's mouth, only for Carol to tell him that's what opens her cervix. Blech. And I just have to say, there is a lot of female inclusion in this show, especially for the 90s, just to throw in a speculum, episode 2, sitcom, blah, 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 that's cool. Cut to Rachel at Barry's office. Apparently he's a dentist. She walks in while he's working on a teenager, and Barry actually seems very aloof, like he doesn't care. And if you look at Barry, he doesn't seem like a bad-looking guy. And we learn why. Rachel says, "Oh, have you lost weight? Did you get hair plugs? Why do you have a tan?" We cut to Ross at the OBGYN again, and they're discussing how everything's going to work. What's the name of the child going to be? What's all this, that, and the other? We hear that Susan and Carol have already agreed on Marlin for a boy. I mean, like the fish. Okay. And Minnie for a girl, like the mouse. Okay. If anyone is listening, call Minnie or Marlin. Not trying to come for you, but that seems weird off the cuff. We cut back to Rachel and Barry. He still seems very aloof, and we find out the reason he's so tanned is because he went on the honeymoon. His honeymoon he's supposed to be on with Rachel, with their maid of honor, Mindy. What? The maid of honor? I mean, bleh. We find out that Barry says, I wasn't happy with you, Rachel, but he is happy with Mindy. She gives him back his engagement ring, and we cut to an argument at the OBGYN about names again. They're talking about last names, because they're gonna hyphenate, double barrel, whatever, I guess triple barrel, because they want to put Geller, Willick, Bunch. Geller is Ross's last name, Willick is Carol's last name, and Bunch is Susan's last name. And here's all I'm gonna say about that, okay? If really Carol is thinking that Susan's last name should be on her baby, that she got impregnated with Ross. I mean, she's not that far along. She's maybe 8 to 12 weeks. So they've had sex in the last 8 to 12 weeks and were together. Carol and Susan were a lot more together and serious than anyone realizes. If Carol is saying, you can put your last name on my baby, that's all I'll say about that. The OBGYN walks in and says, any nausea? All three of them respond yes, even though she's just asking Carol. Ross says he's going to leave because he's like, this is too much stress, I can't deal with it. And as he walks towards the door, he starts hearing the sonogram heartbeat of his baby. He turns back around, and he, Susan, and Carol grip each other's hands in a threesome hand grip over Carol's belly as they look at the sonogram, clearly besotted with their 3-person baby. We cut to the final scene as the credits roll, and Ross is showing the sonogram video on Monica's apartment TV while all the friends watch. Chandler and Joey don't really know what they're looking at, neither does Phoebe. She's like, if you turn your head to the side, it kind of works. But Monica is about to lose her emotional mind because she loves babies and she realizes she's going to become an aunt. And what a super sweet, complicated, emotional, explorative, is that a word? Yeah. Episode that is so deep and must have touched so many people in so many situations, and probably still continues to do. However, the episode ends with Rachel calling her maid of honor, Mindy, who's now shacked up with her ex-fiancé, Barry. They're talking, blah, 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 and then Rachel says, right before she puts the phone down, I just hope that your kids have Barry's old hairline and your old nose. Ooh, brutal. And then the episode ends. So that is Season 1, Episode 2 of Friends. I can't wait to keep going on these episodes with you, to explore it more. Even though I watch these all the time, sometimes it's just in the background. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week on Wednesday for another episode of My Brain is a Wonderland, Season 3.